Bennett says while her parents were married, her father had an affair with the defendant behind her mother's back. Kimberly claims 1 week after her mother passed away, her father moved the defendant into her home. They eventually got married, and she's suing today because she claims the defendant refuses to return a desk that belonged to Kimberly's mom. Defendant Alice Bennett says Kimberly's mother knew about the affair and was completely supportive of it because she knew she was terminally ill and she wanted her children to have a mother. Alice claims she and her husband are now separated because of Kimberly, and she refuses to return the desk because it belongs to her husband.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge, Greg Mathis, presiding. You may now be seated.
Tell me what happened.
Well, I'll start from the beginning. In 2004, my mother and father, my brother and sister moved to Maine. About 6 months later, my father met Alice, and they started having an affair behind my mother's back. When my mother found out, she filed for a separation and got her own place. In February 2006, my father and mother got back together, and I found out that my mother was sick. And they asked me if they could stay with me, and I agreed. I found out my mother was terminally ill, and she died on March 19th. During this time, my father was having phone conversations with Alice, and apparently they wanted to get back together. And my father asked me if Alice could come stay with me until they got a place, and this was a week after my mother died. I respect my father a lot, and I have a hard time telling him no. And I was really going through a lot taking care of my mother and my brother and sister and my two children. So I said yes.
How's your brother and sister?
My brother is 16 and my sister is 14 now. Alice came in and she just kind of took over my house, basically. They got found having my brother and sister wanting them to call her mother. Like, she wanted to take over the mom role right away, and it was like very overwhelming for us. She's very controlling and manipulating.
But you needed some help.
Needed help?
Yes, ma'am.
With what?
With taking care of your children and all the other things you just said.
Nope, it was just allowing her to live with me after the affair and all this stuff happened.
All right, let me allow her to give some background on this.
My husband and I met in 2004. His previous wife, knew of our relationship, knew she was terminally ill, encouraged our relationship. We spoke on a regular basis, mostly about rearing of the children. They needed a mother, and my husband needed a wife, and we had agreed to be married in 2005. And
Did you all have this discussion with her?
Oh, yes, sir. She came to Maine in October.
You told her that her mother was fine with the relationship and that her mother wanted you to marry
Yes, sir.
her father.
Yes, and she was there. She knew that.
Is that true?
No, this is not true. My mother
Okay, so
begged her.
you never heard your mother agree to this.
Oh, no.
All right.
On her
That's all.
deathbed, she
That's all
asked
I'm asking. She says you did. You say you did. Good enough.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go back to you. What else you want to tell me?
They got an apartment, and I came home, and like half of my mother's things were gone. My mother's Bible, an antique desk that I'm suing her for that I really want back. I do not want the money. It was gone. Little knickknacks. I mean, she even wrote in my mother's Bible. I didn't say anything
What
because
about your dad? Do you think he had anything to do with it?
He's actually here today. He will not. I mean, if he had the
I'm
desk, he would
saying,
give it
did
to
he
me.
have anything to do with removing those items?
Yes.
So weren't they his?
No. He gave. My mother died in my home with her belongings in my home and said, "Thank you for taking care of me. You are a blessing. Whatever I brought here from Maine is yours."
Okay. Did you share that with your dad?
No.
Why?
I got out of a relationship.
Pardon me?
I got out of a really bad relationship like 2 months after that. And my father is he's involved in a religious group that's very controlling, and I was very controlled, basically, as a child. And I just let it go. I knew that if I asked my
You
father,
let it go
he
until
would give it
when?
back. He would give it to me. If I said, I I do want that desk back.
You've asked him about the desk?
Yes.
And what has he said?
He said that if he had it, he would give it to me.
What
She
has he
has
said?
it at her daughter's house.
He told you she has it as well?
Yes, and I have a letter
But
here.
aren't they married?
Yeah, they are married.
But the
Alice
desk,
and
they
my
don't
father.
live together?
No. They live
Your
separately.
father and his new wife
Yes, they live
do
separately.
not live together.
Yes, we are staying together now. We separated because of her, basically.
Why? Tell me why.
Because she calls her younger sister and brother and turns them against me, feels they should have no rules, they shouldn't have any
How does
bedtime.
that affect you and your husband?
Well, it affects me because when I'm living in a house and I'm the woman of that house, I expect these children to have
And
rules and
what did your
regulations.
husband expect?
He expects nothing. He
Oh.
wants peace, and I told him peace isn't free.
We'll be right back. And coming up on Judge Mathis.
No, I did not. I had
Never seen her again since that day?
I left.
That's a yes or a no.
Can I introduce my boyfriend who has actually served this woman?
State your name.
My name's Chad Ferguson.
What do you want to tell me?
This is about 2 years ago. That's when I first met Kim. She was my coworker at the time when Alice was introduced to this family. The only peace Kim has to her mother is her brother and sister, and Alice won't let them see them. She starts blocking the view, hitting her brother. Oh, and we call her. Oh, they can't talk to you right now because he didn't do his homework. And so Kim has nothing. She's over
That
here
is
by
not
herself.
allowed at my house.
I'm inclined to believe you talk about all this.
We even put up her daughter.
Talking about all this structure stuff.
We put her daughter up.
And your husband, then he won't even let him have any input. He's too scared to even say anything. He just, I want peace. I want peace. Don't do nothing to me.
Your Honor, I have a letter from him.
Ma'am, let me ask her about the desk.
My husband and I moved our furniture out of her home after we had lived there approximately 1 month.
And how did the desk leave the possession of your husband?
I left my husband in March of 2008, and when I left our residence that we lived at for 2.5 years, I took the things I needed to set up housekeeping, which included the desk.
How long after her mother passed did she mention the desk?
2 years.
After
that
it
true?
was taken from my
Is that
father.
true?
Yes, because of my brother and sister.
I got you. All right.
I knew my father would give it to me.
All right. Do you have any other evidence that he?
I have a picture of my mother in the desk.
Without
I have a letter from my father stating that it is my desk, and
All right. So you say your father's here, but he's too scared to speak. Who am I concerned? I'm writing this letter for my daughter. I must have been only witness to the fact that my first wife purchased a desk. My wife